Hello, fellow beach maniacs and island music lovers. Welcome to the Beach Maniac Island Music Podcast, where we dive into the stories behind the music. I'm your host, the Beach Maniac himself, Bill Hurley. You probably know Greg Mihaly from his melodic Trop Rock tune, Sunshades on 30A. In that song, Greg takes us on a musical tour of the iconic Highway 30A in the Florida Panhandle, singing about white sand beaches, emerald waters, and the laid-back charm of the beach towns dotting the Gulf Coast. While Sunshades on 30A has become his signature song in the trop rock world, Greg's music stretches far beyond that. He blends gritty rock, coastal vibes, and introspective lyrics into a sound that's truly his own, something he highlights in another standout track called A Little Bit of Everything. Greg Mihaly, welcome to the Beach Maniac Island Music Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here, Bill.
All right, and you're joining us from Pensacola, Florida, is that right?
Yep, Pensacola Beach, Florida is where I'm based out of, so yeah, that's
All right.
where I am.
And
Yep.
that explains Sunshades on 38. So I want to talk more about all of your music and how you got to where you are today. But first, I want to jump right in and focus on Sunshades on 38.
Roger.
Tell me a little bit about that story and what's the inspiration behind it?
This was probably, not probably, this was absolutely the first really intentional song that I wrote that was going to be a trop rock song. I know you went back and probably, listened to a bunch of, other stuff that I've done along the way that's, that spans.
Right.
There is a breadth there. But with Sunshades on 30A, it's definitely a different beast because this was the first one I wrote intentionally to be a trop rock song. It's also the first one that I've written, semi recently that I really planned on sharing with somebody else and expanding into, the trop rock community and to some other artists, through collaboration. So this one I really wrote with I remember I was talking with Kenny Tice, who's over at Radio Trop Rock now,
Right.
and we were having one of our little conversations on Saturday morning, and we were just talking about who was doing well in trop rock, and we had mentioned Manalo and Jesse Rice and stuff like that, and I just decided
Mhm.
that was kind of going to be my day, that I was going to go in and really start a song that could be a collaborative song. And so that Saturday afternoon, I started writing that song, and by Monday, the song was done already, past the point of, really needing collaboration or whatever. But, I was like, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and demo this up anyway. Maybe somebody else will want to cut it because, again, I'm writing this for someone else. And so I demoed it up, and by the time I got done demoing it up, I realized that I had a record. So I went ahead and put it all together and mixed it and sent it out to the streaming services, and so that's how it came to be. But it was supposed to be a beach vibe trop rock song that again I was going to collaborate and share with someone else, and it ended up just kind of turning into another one of my songs. So that's how it got here.
Why did you feel you were writing it for somebody else from the get-go?
For the past few years, I have been writing all by myself. I mean, I start writing the song, I record the song, I track the song, I mix the song, I master the song, I put the song out. Um, and that's what I've been doing really since probably 2021, 2022. And so I just figured it was time for me to start reaching out and, because I've always wanted to collaborate with other folks. It's just, my process is a very, straight line when it's, when I'm the only person in the room. So it made it easy to get through things. But again, I like being on teams. I like collaborative projects. And so again, I was going to do this. I was like, it's going to be, maybe in the style of Manalo or Jesse Rice or something like that. And that's
Mhm.
where I got it. And I was, wanting again, because this trop rock thing is such a vibey and community based thing,
Right.
that
Right.
I just couldn't wait to, I can't wait to work with some other artists. And there are projects like that are in the works in their infancy right now that I can't wait to tell you about at some point. But no, but that song was going to be the thing that I pitched to Manalo, that I pitched to Jesse Rice or whatever. I did pitch it to Jesse Rice. Strangely enough, there's a little
Oh,
story
really?
I'll tell on him. And but it's a great story, and it just shows you what he's. I can't wait to meet him one day. He's a fantastic dude, and of course, he works with friends of mine, Jax Bowers and James Drakes as well. But about a week or so after Sunshades on 38 came out. Of course, I don't have a huge following yet or anything like that, so I'm like, it'd still be better off if somebody else cut this song. And I still
Mm.
think, I can hear somebody else singing it. So I
Yeah.
reached out to Jesse Rice, and I was just kind of like, I know you've never met me before. My name is Greg Mihaly, and I've got this song called Sunshades on 38. Sounds like it might kind of be up your alley if you're, wanting to record it. Now, keep in mind, this was last December that I was doing all this, because Sunshades on 38 came out in late November. Well, he responded, very very quickly thereafter, and was very nice, very gracious. He said, "Believe it or not, well, number one, I'm not looking for songs right now, because I've already got my whole next EP and LP at least written out, and
Right.
strangely enough, I've got a song called 30A that's coming out on my EP that's going to be out in a month or two." So
Right.
he's like, "I already kind of have the 30A song, but thanks for thinking of me." And so so anyway, he got back to me. He was real nice about it. Didn't, wasn't, interested in cutting that song. But so I just kind of left it out there. And then within a couple of months, it started it started creeping on its own. It started doing real well at Radio Trop Rock with the listener requests and everything. And so that's how it got to where it was. And I'd like to thank Jesse Rice for passing on that one, because it's turned out to be a pretty good song for me.
It has, and it's a
yeah.
great song.
Well, thank you.
And that's just a weird coincidence that you both had Highway 30A songs developed at the same time, completely independent, right?
Totally bizarre. Totally bizarre. To hear back, he's like, not only do I not need songs, but I've already got a song about 30A that's coming out in about a month or two. So.
Right. So 30A, you tell me about what inspired you specifically about that song. You're from that area. You've probably been up and down the road a million times. Tell me about that.
The song was really inspired by, and again, it's getting in that trop rock state of mind, getting that visualization. One of the reasons that it actually kind of reminded me of, it's like, what am I seeing right now? What are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you feeling? What do you, all those things, and keeping it in that trop rock vibe. Also, the setting that you put yourself in when you're writing it. I put myself in a vehicle when I was writing it, and kind of drove myself around the area. What's over there? What's over here? And so I just kind of really mapped out what anyone would see if they spent enough time down there. It's just like, my favorite road runs left and right. That's that east-west span, and just talking about all the memories, at least for me, that exist in this general area, and things that anybody who's been here at least once will be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And so just really putting it in that beach setting, in a cruising down the road type vibe and feel for that song. And again, that's one of those things that Jesse Rice has that song called Cruise, that he co-wrote, that did really well with Florida Georgia Line. And so again, that's the mentality I was. It was just the riding around a beach town and area. What am I seeing, and what do I love about it? And that was the inspiration behind that.
Right. And then you came up with a great melody to put it all together with.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna take a ride down 38. Gonna take my time if it takes all day. Yes, I know that I got it made. Got it made in my sunshades on 38. Gonna take a ride down 38. Beaches all around me every day. Tell you one more time, I've got it made. I got it made in my sunshades on 38.
you write the song. How does it get traction on the Trop Rock charts and the stations? How does that come about?
Well, the first thing that happens really is I try to reach out to, some of these Trop Rock stations. Now, I had some songs that were being played on some stations, but the really big station that it blew up on was Radio Trop Rock, of course. And they had actually, I had told them about the song. I think, maybe sent them an email, just kind of like a one-off email saying, hey, I've got this new song out. And, sometimes, how emails go, especially nowadays, so I think sometimes, 3/4 of the emails that I even send, sometimes just go completely unfielded. So,
Right.
you never know whether or not somebody got the email or whatever, but I guess it was like either late December or early January when they reached out to me. They said, hey, we've got some listeners that say that we should be playing this Sunshades on 38 song on Radio Trop Rock. Can we do that? And I'm like, heck yes, you can do that. Yes, please, 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 please. And so they put it into their rotation. And then by the end of January, I think it would have been the first week of February when they released their Buzzin' Dozen list. And I didn't know about this yet, but I got a call, or a text rather, from James Drake's Manalo. He said, congratulations on being number 3 this month. And I'm just looking at this text like, number 3 for what? I mean, thank you, but what are you talking about? And so it took me a second to figure it out, and went on Facebook, and sure enough, there it was. And then the next month, it was number 1, and then the next for 3 or 4 months, it hung out at number 2. I think this past month it dropped down to number 10, but we're still talking 6 months in the top 10.
Right, that's amazing.
5 of those 6 months were in the top 3, so I was very, very, very appreciative that they picked that up, and that it resounded so well amongst the listeners. So that was fun.
And do you personally get feedback from fans of the Trop Rock genre?
I do, and that's the cool thing about about Facebook and about technology nowadays is it doesn't even take a fan letter to get to get mailed across the country anymore. I mean, somebody can just drop into your comments or drop into the DMs and say, hey, good job on this or that or whatever. So yeah, I do get feedback from people directly, and it's all been good.
So Sunshades on 30A is a little bit different than a lot of your music in the past.
Yes.
When I listen to some of your other songs, there's a lot more grittiness to it. In a lot of cases, a lot more guitar riffs. Mm-hmm. And you have a song called "A Little Bit of Everything," which I think is sort of a musical autobiography of yours. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, that one was, and yes, it really does talk about just pulling from everywhere. And again, it's another song about just getting everybody together. No matter where you're from, no matter what your influences are. We've all got something in common, and for the most part, we all love the same things about music. Music does the same things for all of us, no matter what kind of music it is that you enjoy. It's evocative, the same feelings, the same memory recalls or imagery or whatever it is. Just music is music, and it moves you. It moves different people no matter what it sounds like. And so yes, this was truly the draw on everything. And rather than being a hate piece about all these things coming into a genre, it's a love piece about bringing everything into a genre, and everybody just get together, having a good time, listening to whether it's trap beats or rock riffs or soulful singing or whatever it is. It all can exist under one umbrella.
Some folks say it's gone to hell. I would say it's going well. Yeah, the hipsters moved on in, but so did all their closest friends. Listen close and you will hear all those sounds of yesteryear. Come with me and you will see what country music has come to be. It's a little bit of country, it's a little bit of
how would you personally describe your style or your sound?
I don't know. I guess it would be. I mean, they're all really done in the context of a rock band. So I guess I would still call myself a rock artist or an alt rock artist. Whenever I do these productions, I always have in mind a band set. I grew up on recordings from the 70s, records made in the 70s, records made in the 80s and the early 90s, and always were like very band oriented. I want to, when I hear something coming out of the speakers, I want to hear a band playing rather than just an artist singing. So I think that's why it's been so easy for me, and again, it's what I grew up on. So this guitar, typically guitar, driven, heavier, rock stuff. Of course I loved, a lot of 80s pop music and 90s pop music too, and but it's just easy for me to create in that style because that's where I've got the most time under the hood. I cut my teeth on, Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and Helmet and, Rat and, all that old school rock stuff. And so, that format certainly persists in the package that I'm delivering.
It's a really interesting mix of sounds and like a musical journey from that to Trop Rock. It seems like a long trip from one place to the other.
It is kind of a long span. I'm fortunate though in that I don't feel like I've really had to build a bridge to Trop Rock though, because I kind of feel like I'm still doing what comes naturally to me. And that was another thing that that I was considering when wanting to collaborate more is every Trop Rock song isn't going to be a song that I'm going to cut necessarily with my name on it as an artist, but that doesn't mean they aren't great Trop Rock songs. That just means somebody else needs to be singing it. And so that again, that was one of my reasons for wanting to branch out is, I want to write way more songs than I would ever even put on one of my albums. And so again, that speaks to why I wanted to reach out and collaborate, because I write more things than I would even record for myself, and rather than that stuff just going to waste, it just needs to find its way to the right artist.
So what are some of the other songs that you have that would fall into the Trop Rock genre?
Well, another one that got picked up strangely, well, okay, so Lower Alabama Way is probably the other one that we can't not mention, when it comes to Trop Rock, because again, that is the quintessential point your truck down south, go to the beach, put your toes in the sand, sunscreen on your nose, all the typical, cold drink in your hand, shake up the mixed bag of Trop Rock themes and pour it out, and it's like, cold drink, sunscreen, and you put them in the song, and but no, really, and there is a little bit more behind this than just a mixed bag of Trop Rock themes. It really echoes it reflects my trip down to Pensacola, because the first time I heard this region referred to as Lower Alabama was when we were moving down here from up north, and my dad's the dad said, all right, time to go to Lower Alabama, and I was like, I thought you said we were moving to Pensacola, Florida. He goes, same difference. So anyway, that was the first time I ever heard that term Lower Alabama, and it's weird, if you've ever done that drive down 65, the feeling, because you come all the way down through, whether you're coming through Tennessee or over through Georgia or whatever, that drive down 65, it's just pine trees and asphalt for so long. Pine trees and asphalt, and you just keep going south, and you just keep going south, and then once you dead end into the most beautiful beaches ever. So like you literally go from Alabama feel to straight up tropics feel. So anyway, Lower Alabama is that. So as a youngster, that was the first time I ever heard that term, was Lower Alabama, and just kind of all my life, since I've, since I've been writing songs, I figured there was always going to be a chance for me to write that song about Lower Alabama, and so yeah, a few years ago, I went ahead and brought that one up and developed it. But that's the Trop Rock song, and that was the first song that got picked up by Trop Rock at all, and so that was my first Trop Rock spin, was Lower Alabama Way.
Get up, get on down to sweet LA. Don't rock and roll all night, party every day, yeah. Lower Alabama way, Lower Alabama way.
How about Covered in Sand?
Covered in Sand. Yeah, that's my most recent release. And again, with a lot of my songs, there's the ground level meaning, and then there's the 30,000 foot view meaning, and Covered in Sand just kind of came out of, I was wanting to write another Trop Rock song, and it just it came out of, there literally is sand everywhere. If you live down here or near there isn't one place you can look and not find some sand. So that's really where that came from, was the whole Covered in Sand thing. Now, of course, the basic view of that is, hey, there's sand everywhere. Yeah, there is sand everywhere, but on a grander scale, the baked in, kind of message in this one is the message of abundance and bounty and sharing, and and things like that too. So
and appreciate the things that you have.
Exactly. And appreciating what you have, and if you truly believe in the concept of bounty, that you shouldn't be afraid to share.
I got a lot of salty sand on my floorboard. Got some more down in the pocket of my board shorts. I got sand in my ears and my hair and my everywhere. Whoa, no. I kinda like a little grit down in my teeth, yeah. Quick reminder that it's really not a dream, yeah. New horizons are arising and I like what I see. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I must be living in my element. I'm feeling like I got my every wind.
And then you have a song called My Beach.
Yep.
Sounds very trop rocky.
It sounds a lot more trop rocky than it sounds. Yes, that one is a very, and you got to keep in mind, you know, these songs were written, well, not all of them, but all those off of Supernatural, that album, and all the stuff off of My Lower Alabama Way EP. All the songs were written before I even knew the term trop rock.
Mm-hmm.
I was just writing the things that I knew, the things that compelled me to write, and you know, my beach, my hometown, you know, the setting, the backdrop against which I grew up, you know, kind of a big deal, you know, because that's where it's here, you know, and so I started writing that song, and you know, of course, if you've heard that song, you know that it has really pretty floaty, escapey parts. Are you headed to the seaside? But then it's also got some really brash,
right?
But you know, almost jump scare kind of like. There's one part where I put the guitar part probably about 2 or 3 dB too loud, just so it would jump. So it was that song was really intended to be very. It was kind of written to fight with itself, in a way, and so, you know, when you come up in a setting like this, and of course, you know, you said it, you know, sounds very tropical, and it is, you know, the themes in it, you know, reference, you know, of course, this beautiful beach down here, but I guess it's really the case with anyone's hometown, regardless of the visual beauty of it. If you spend enough time in one place, good things are going to happen to you there. Bad things are going to happen to you there. You're going to learn a lot of lessons there. You're going to win things, you're going to lose things, you're going to, you know, life's going to happen there. And so this song really speaks to the bipolar nature of the happiest you can be and the saddest you can possibly be, all in the same place for completely different reasons.
Yeah.
And you just try to keep going. So that song really is, you know, even though it sounds like a, you know, a fun song, it is really a song that's it's got struggle and conflict kind of laced into it. But then again, you know, it's got the beach themes, it's got people, you know, things that people can identify with in it. It's got the ukulele part in it. so that actually ended up being one of the songs that hit Trop Rock Radio, you know, kind of early too, was when again, when Kenny Tice, you know, picked that one out of the bunch, and it's kind of a non-traditional Trop Rock song, but he was like, this is a Trop Rock song nonetheless. And I'll never forget the first time I heard that song coming out of Trop Rock Radio speakers, going, wow, this is, I mean, that was really the biggest stretch so far, you know, from a musical feel part and what was, you know, acceptable in Trop Rock. And you know, again, that's been the best part about Trop Rock, is I haven't really had to change anything that I'm doing. I just really have to do more of what it is that I'm doing, and they welcomed me in and said, "Don't change a thing. We love what you're doing, even though it's different. Welcome aboard." And again, it just speaks to the breadth of the Trop Rock, you know, genre or umbrella.
And your song "Stroll On," is that sort of similar that way? Kind of a gritty song that is somewhat Trop Rock.
Definitely. You know, it's got the themes. It's, you know, strolling down the beach with opportunity and reach. I don't want for nothing. I got everything I need. It's just, you know, it's kind of like a carefree song, but it's also a song about motion, and motion begets motion, momentum begets momentum. To keep going, to keep trying, to not stay in one place for too long, to keep improving yourself. So yeah, I guess that's just a song about carrying on, and that one was a lot of fun because that one's got some different feels in it too. It's got kind of like a funky-ish, verse almost. I've heard it described as kind of more Chili Peppers, type verse, and then it goes into that that really stompy chorus that would almost be, I don't know, I guess I'd have to describe it more Rage Against the Machine, than anything else too, because it's pretty slammy. But again, because of the lyrical content, because of the overall feel, and hard rock has always been beach music to me. A lot of folks, say, beach music is, it's Buffett, it's Kenny Chesney, it's Zach Brown, and they're not wrong. They are absolutely right. But when you grow up on the beach, everything you hear is beach music. So all of the songs that I was, listening to, riding around with my dad or whatever, like all the, Jefferson Starship is beach music to me. AC/DC is beach music to me. Like a lot of this really heavy rock stuff is what I do associate in my mind with beach themes, because again, this was the backdrop of my upbringing, and so I draw probably more beach correlations to heavy metal and hard rock music than maybe some folks do, because again, that was the soundtrack of my upbringing against this beach backdrop. So to me, beach music, with what I grew up on, that setting and that feel, there was a lot more allowance for some really, really heavy, grungy content there, and so it's still here.
Very interesting. It adds a lot of adds a lot of messages and philosophy and nuance to beach music, to trop rock music, that a lot of the songs don't have. They're fun songs, but they don't necessarily get into those more serious messages.
Yeah. Jane's Addiction is beach music to me. Incubus is beach music to me. And so it's fun. It's a lot of fun, this trop rock genre, because again, I can write what I want. I don't have to change. I haven't had to change a bit. I don't feel like I haven't had to come out of what has come naturally to me for me to still be producing things that, trop rock is like, hey, yeah, we like this too, we're putting it on. And so, I'm fortunate and happy that the trop rock has welcomed me as it has.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born and raised, and how did you find your way to Pensacola?
Originally, well, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. And so I was there for a little while. My dad was, civil service DOD. And so we just kind of went from naval base to naval base. So while I wasn't a military brat, I was really young. We moved from Cleveland over to, we went over to Maryland for a while. We were in, because my dad was at Pax River. And then once he was done there, spent a few years there, he had the opportunity to come down to Pensacola to transfer to Pensacola NAS. And so again, this would have been the early 80s, but I was down here in Pensacola by the early 80s because my dad, worked at the Navy base down here. And so that's how I originally got down here from up north. Now, we still used to go up to Ohio twice a year, because that's where my dad's family was all from, that's where my mom's family was all from. So we still went up there every Christmas and every summer. So, I still kind of feel like, I have a bit of a home in Ohio. But because we did go back there so often. But that's how I got down here to Pensacola originally, was dad getting the old base transfer and being able to come down to Pensacola NAS because he wanted to go to the beach.
So you've been there a very, very long time, since the 1980s.
Very, very long time. I left for a little while. I went to high school, graduated high school, went to college, graduated college, and then for a little while I actually did leave town. I lived, for a little while in the New York area. I spent 5 years in Atlanta, then I spent another 3 years in Nashville, and then I came back here again in like '08 or so. So I spent about 10 years, moving around out of town, playing in different cities and stuff like that. So I haven't been here my whole life, but I am back now, and this is my first, in the past few years, this has been my first real attempt at a solo project, and just going ahead and doing everything myself.
Now that you've been kind of introduced or welcomed into the Trop Rock community, have you had a chance to play at any of the Trop Rock festivals or house concerts?
I am starting to get those opportunities now, thankfully. And you mentioned the house concerts, you mentioned all the festivals. I can't wait to get more involved with those. Hopefully, as 2026 rolls around, it kind of, things book out really, really early, so you do have to plan, really, far in advance. But I'd like to do some more of those things coming up. The big deal, though, for me coming up this year is the fact that I got invited to play Meeting in the Minds. So this will be my
That's a
first
lot.
year at.
That's
Yeah, I
big.
know, I
Yeah.
know. I'm so happy. It's like I haven't been at a Trop Rock festival yet, and then you get invited to that one. I'm like,
The big
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yes, please. So yeah, I'll be playing out there. And super, super excited about that. Really excited about being out there and meeting people, and hugging and high fiving and shaking hands of the folks that I only kind of know through through the Facebook chats,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
through whatever, or because they've requested whatever. Anyway, I'm looking forward to finally getting out amongst some of the folks that have been supporting my music for the past few years, and getting out to these festivals and concerts are gonna help me do that. So I'm definitely stoked about that. Definitely
All right.
excited.
And you're working on some new music, including some Trop Rock music?
I am. I am. I will hopefully have. My intention is to have another Trop Rock EP. Well, my version of Trop Rock EP out out by the end of this year. Now, and keep in mind, now it will roll up some of these singles that I've had. So, I'll probably take 30A and Covered in Sand, put them on this EP, and then I've got about three or so more that are uh, that are in the works. That if I can get them wrapped up and hemmed up, and I can get all five of these sounding good in a volume together, I'll try to have that out before Meeting in the Minds. I don't know if that's going to happen yet or not, but that is the intention. And yeah, I would count on seeing something by the end of this year, no doubt, no doubt. And ideally, it will be an EP that comes out before Meeting the Minds, but don't hold me to that one quite yet.
Okay.
But I'm going to do my
Eh,
best to get it out. Yeah.
What kind of flavor can we expect from those songs? Will they be more traditional Trop Rock, or will they be more like Stroll On with the rock influence, heavy rock influences?
They're gonna be a bit on the heavy side. they they will now. 30A will be Sunshades on 30A will be on there. Covered in Sand will be on there. But then there are a couple. I think I've got four that I'm kind of juggling right now. Three of the four will make it. But yeah, it's and there's even one song that's in excess of 5 minutes long, which is unheard of anymore. I mean, to
Yeah.
to get any song that's even any more than 4 minutes, 4:20 or 4:30 is kind of a long song anymore. But so yeah, just to yeah, I've got one that's going to even run over 5 minutes. So if that tells you anything about it, the what the rest of that EP is going to sound like, it's going to be a little bit unusual. The Sunshades on 30A and Covered in Sand will be the most mainstream sounding songs on that EP, most likely. But I'm really liking where these other songs are going too,
Mm.
and so I think you'll dig it. It's just one of those things I can't really tell you about what it is. You're just gonna have to hear it and then see for yourself.
Look forward to it. So, where can your fans find your music and follow your journey?
They can. Well, I've got a website. GregMihalyMusic.com is my website. Probably and I don't do a very good job about that. This is another thing that I definitely need to improve on going forward is my social media presence. And so, but my social media handles are Greg Mihaly Music, at Greg Mihaly Music everywhere. So Instagram, Greg Mihaly Music. Facebook, at Greg Mihaly Music. YouTube Music, at Greg Mihaly Music. So that's where you can find all the music and any updates on the things that I will be doing. Like that's where I'll go to like post shows or anything like that. So yeah, that's the best place to find me.
All right. Any other final shout outs or beachside wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners?
None right now. Not, I mean, other than to say, this Trop Rock journey has been fantastic. There's no way that I can sufficiently express how thankful I am to not only the folks who are listening, but to a lot of the people in this industry, and a lot of the musicians who, I don't know. I've worked in rock circles. I've worked in country circles. I've been in a lot of different settings with a lot of different sets of folks. But good Lord, man, this has been just such a nice. Trop Rock has been this nice, warm jeans out of the dryer on a cold winter day. For someone who's been playing music for so long, doing a bunch of different things, and then I get into this, and it finally feels like it finally feels like you've set the hook. It finally feels like you've engaged with something that wants to play back, and so Trop Rock fans, awesome. Trop Rock musicians, awesome. I mean, I've just had nothing but great experiences with these folks in Trop Rock. So I guess if there's any send off message I have, it's thank you. It is just thank you for everything, and I'm gonna keep putting music out, and hopefully everyone will keep requesting it, and I really hope to see more people more often at some of these events that you were talking about, and yeah, just looking forward to what things lie ahead. Between my new music and collaborations again that I'm working on with as well that I can't wait to tell you about. This is going to be fun. It's going to be fun going forward. I'm excited.
Great. Yeah, it is a very special group of people. It's a special community is what it is.
It absolutely
very
is.
Good people.
It absolutely is.
All right. Well, thank you, Greg. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I look forward to hearing more of your music down the road.
Look forward to putting some out, man.
All right. Talk to you later. Thanks,
All right,
Greg.
Thanks. All right. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you again, Greg Mihaly, for joining me on the Beach Maniac Island Music Podcast. For more information about Greg, visit beachmaniac.com, where this podcast is housed and where you'll find both an audio and video podcast, along with some video clips, a blog with a podcast transcript, and links to Greg's website, Facebook page, YouTube channel, and Instagram account. You'll also find the video podcast on the Beach Maniac YouTube channel. Just search for Beach Maniac Island Music Podcast. And thanks to everyone for joining me, Bill Hurley, the Beach Maniac, as we go behind the scenes and explore the magic behind the music. For more about me and my passion, visit beachmaniac.com or contact me at bill@beachmaniac.com. Remember, whether you're soaking up the sun or catching the waves, we hope you're feeling those good beach vibes. Until next time, keep the sand between your toes and the ocean breeze in your hair. Stay safe, stay cool, and we'll catch you on the next wave.
Traded suit ties for sandals and caps. Won't ever go back.